And we're live, hola community. This is Pablo Vazquez with another episode of Blender Every Day. Today is number 10. We managed to get to 10 episodes, interviewing artists, developers, whatever, under every day. Today I have the pleasure to have an artist, musician, director, 1-minute tutorialer. Is that a thing? YouTuber, that's also a thing. So today, without further ado, give it up for Ian HUBERT, the man.
Good afternoon.
Legend. Yes, it's actually afternoon here. How are ya?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very good. I did the maneuver because this is earlier than I normally wake up, and so
I'm sorry about that.
2 nights ago I didn't sleep very much, so that last night I could fall asleep at a regular time, which works really good if it works. But if you fall asleep too late the second night, then you are just you're taking a nosedive. But I think I pulled up, so
it goes. I don't know. It goes back again. That's but it's quarantine times. It's weird times. Good to have you here.
This is very true. Good to be here.
Yes, we actually know each other. We were just chatting that we know each other for like 10 years or so, almost. It's almost our anniversary, because some people are not aware that you just didn't start by using Blender stuff like a year ago with lazy tutorials. Actually, this man is a legend. This man has history behind him. He is the director of the very first live action open movie in Blender, like Tears of Steel, if you remember, which led you to what?
Almost 10 years ago.
Almost 10 years ago, which led to one of my favorite productions that you've made, which is Throw It in the Canal, the making of. It's just, I don't know, Tears of Steel is great, but the making of, man, it's just amazing. If you haven't seen it, I think it's on YouTube, but it's also on Blender Cloud, where you can, it's just awesome. Thank you for this gift to humanity. Throw It in the Canal shows the process of you like making Tears of Steel, basically, from like you start with like waking up, and like you're waking up and it's like, this is the first day in Amsterdam or something. Like, it's just awesome.
Yeah, well, it was I think there was somebody who was making the an actual behind the scenes, but in the end we ended up just using like my little personal video. I had one of these little like what were they called, flip cameras or something back then?
Yes.
And we ended up just using a bunch of like the messages I was sending home, and so it's like weirdly casual
that you were sending home. Wow. So like just for family and friends.
Yeah, it was just like random footage, and it's like, wow, we've got some making of a movie in here, and so it was a lot of just mostly hanging out.
So sorry, I just saw Mark and Mark, some pigeons that you named Mark. Yes. Wow, you can see Andy, you can see everybody there. So yeah, amazing. And another great production. And also, people maybe are not aware that you don't only make 1-minute tutorials, but you made 2 feature films that I'm aware of. One, it's a Project London, which is amazing. I don't know if people have seen it, but you worked on it for so long as well.
Yeah, like 7 years.
7 years working on Project London, but you finished it. It's out. It's actually on YouTube. I just found it. Just
look at that whole thing.
Whole thing. Yeah. It's somebody uploaded it apparently. No, it's Spiral Productions, and then and then you can see Project London. It's an Ian HUBERT film. We can even see you on the film, right? The cameo?
I don't think I have a cameo. No.
That's where
I
see that?
I don't even know if my voice is in there. Yeah, I don't know if I did that. Oh wow, Josh is such a baby. Oh wow.
It's just amazing. Just like, this is when you started this project.
This was 2007, or I think we shot it in 2008. So that's 14 years old at this point.
2007, 8. So it's as old as YouTube almost.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice it's 2020. It makes it really easy to calculate how long ago things were.
Yeah, it's crazy old. But I think your masterpiece is a 1 hour, your other feature film, The Grass Growing in Slow Motion. 1.5 hour. It's also on YouTube. It's a feature film on your YouTube channel. But people are missing out on these gems. They probably know you better from the lazy tutorials that you've been preparing lately.
7,000 views?
7,000.
When does it count as a view? Probably just if they click on it. Probably not. That's not people who've
I think
actually.
It's after 30 seconds or a few seconds. So people actually have seen it more. I could say I haven't seen the whole thing. I'm still saving it for, quarantine content, when I'm tired of being inside and just need something to relax. So yeah, it's pretty good. Some people say it's even better at 0.5 speed. But that's
probably true.
But the thing that actually broke the web and your channels and your social media channels, it's lately the lazy tutorials.
Oh yeah, those were crazy.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about suddenly people? How do you even come up with that with the concept of just making something super fast but down to the point and clear? That's the most important part.
It was just whatever I could fit on Instagram. Nobody watched anything I did on YouTube, and so like, hey, all right, yeah, what we kind of do in a minute, and
because Instagram is 1 minute videos maximum. Makes sense.
Yeah, which is the reason they're all kind of more square aspect ratio too, which drives YouTube crazy. But I actually like it because it kind of lets me crop in and actually edit the experience. I can just show, it's a lot of it's trying to make it feel as if you're getting the information without it being super, super fast. And so I'm trimming out, and I can cut out all these little bits and kind of make it more of an edited movie than actually just a screen capture. But yeah, I've dumped a lot of time into making those things. I haven't made as much lately just because I don't know. It's YouTube recommends them so much. That's where most of these views have come from. And then so people are trying to learn Blender from them. And I just feel guilty for that happening.
Why?
If something's going to be because if you're hey, there's this thing, it looks kind of easy. Maybe I'll download Blender and try it out. It's that can be a intense introduction to Blender. And so I've been trying to kind of make stuff that's more I've still got a bunch I want to do, but it's a little bit more slightly skewed towards if you're just starting it for the first time.
But do you get people asking that? Because I think it's a completely different target, people target that.
It's you hope so, yeah.
I think so. As for me at least, this is the perfect content because I want to know how the thing is done. I know my way around Blender a bit, so I just want to know your thought process also, because it shows through this 1 minute or maybe 2 minutes. It shows your thought process. It's it's okay, maybe I'm gonna not spend a lot of time in this part, but I'm gonna spend time on this area, mapping all these UV of little papers and stickers.
Well, that's the hard part. Is it takes you kind of have to make an assumption about just what everybody knows with Blender, which is there's so many different parts to it that's every time I use Blender with somebody, they do something right off the bat, and I'm I didn't know that was even on the table. I just saw a screen capture. Somebody's working on a thing, and it had the old logic bricks, which I thought those disappeared years ago. Apparently, it's the Blender game engine branch. Have you heard of it? They still have the logic bricks and all of that stuff, and they're integrated with Eevee now.
Yeah,
so
cool. It's a fork of Blender that basically focuses on the game engine and making it a bit more modern. I haven't played with it, but have you? Is it?
No, but I want to, just because Eevee is asking so much. Just it feels it's perfect for game engine real time stuff.
Did Eevee change the way you work?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's there was, if nothing else, the having to do a thing and then hit render and see it. This is just especially because it actually can give you results that fairly well represent what the cycles render will be.
And are there things that you can do in Eevee that you can't do in cycles, and you found out and it's oh, this looks actually better, or this kind of effect I couldn't do some real-time effect. Some things looks better in real time with all the artifacts and glitches.
Yeah, normal, especially if you're working with normal maps or bump maps or whatever. Eevee is a lot more forgiving, where you just crank it and it'll just kind of get even bumpier and bumpier. And if you're in cycles, you'll just get into Firefly City really quick. And so stuff like that is really nice if you're just experimenting with pushing textures crazy far.
Wow. So nowadays, your everydays, you are also working. You released recently a teaser which was also a mix of it's a teaser, but also is a one shot, very long one that is all Eevee, and it's from Dynamo. What is Dynamo? Is this the last episode really? No, I know we like, for people that don't know what is Dynamo, haven't seen the previous episodes. Where you actually in that one you do perform. Even Francesco performs.
It's true. Francesco steals the show.
Anca Rossi.
He went to LA and I think somebody recognized him. They're like, "Are you Uncle Rossi?"
No way.
He was like, "Of all the things, yeah,
seriously,
all the things to be recognized for." And I think it was actually the guy who recognized him was I think it was Hal Hickel, who's like the art director, like Academy Award-winning art director at like ILM.
Seriously?
Like I don't think Francesco,
like, hey.
Francesco knew, but yeah, love it.
It's famous.
I was doing Dynamo even back in like 2011. It's just kind of it's the thing where if I get excited about something, I'm like, oh, I want to incorporate this thing into something. Dynamo is kind of the catch-all, and so I filmed a bunch of stuff back in like 2011, and then I edited some of it while we were working on Tears of Steel. And in the intervening 8 years, I've kept working on that, but it was still supposed to be this show's still supposed to be taking place over the same 48-hour period, except now everybody's like a decade older, and it was just feeling a little bit like I have, I don't know how many thousands of hours worth of finished episodes like done. We've just been filming and building sets. Like it feels like legit crazy at this point that I keep being like, well, I just need to shoot this and kind of put that in there, and it's not ready. But I'm sitting on so much stuff. But because it's become, we're all 30 now instead of 22, it's harder to get your friends together and kind of film stuff. And it never made the type of money where I could be like, okay, everybody leave your families for a week. We're just you're actors now. We're gonna film a thing. And so this is kind of. It's not like a reboot, but it's kind of a parallel thing that'll let me wrap it up while also using resources and friends that make more sense now. And so that's been fun. We've been building. I've got my
whoa, what is that?
Sci-fi kind of set going on out there. And let's see, can we see in the we've got the green screen kind of on the other side of the church.
Yes, you're not.
So we've just been building stuff. Yeah, I'm in kind of the old office, I think, but out there is the main space. We got the green screen, which has been really fun having an actual kind of
green screen at home. And you even do you make all the props yourself as well?
Yeah, I've got my friend comes over, Nate Taylor, and we'll sometimes go nuts like that. That whole set was like $200, I think, of just like garbage that we painted all together.
Yeah, right.
Trying to use Arduinos, like little, have you ever played with Arduinos?
I haven't yet, but I really wanna. It sounds like it can control or do anything. Little robots.
Nathan Vegdahl helped me get my first one set up because it's funny because he knows how to do all that sort of programming, but like when you get it right, the robot starts doing stuff, which is apparently a fun way to program.
And when you do it wrong, they take over. It's amazing. Another recommendation for people is to watch your talk last year from Blender Conference. It's really it's nearly 500,000 views. Your presentation. Oh! And I follow the comments, and there is all the time there is comments coming up on this. It's just amazing. So it's like it's not a 1 minute tutorial, but it's like half an hour. It's just crazy.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
I'm bummed that totally makes sense. I'm bummed the LA
conference didn't happen.
Conference, yeah.
Next year. Yeah. Yeah.
Were you gonna be coming to that?
Absolutely, yes. I was already planning to go to this one, but unfortunately, it's not gonna happen. But yeah, next year, hopefully, it should be. Come on, how long can this thing last? Anyway, we have lots of questions for today. So I was thinking maybe you could show something on your computer, but I think if it could go better together with the questions, because we have let me refresh the page just to get the latest. I had 42 comments, the answer to everything. 42. Oh. And the first comment, you may know this guy, I think he's a Blender user, Ton Rosendahl.
Ton.
Isn't that crazy? You have Ton for the first time. You're asking a question, by the way. It's a great honor. He starts the comment by saying, "I'm a huge fan. I know you borrow a lot of textures from different sites. Where do you draw the line between when you decide something is stealing or not?" You take a lot of, and the question continues, you take a lot of things from the real world and incorporate into your work. Have you ever tried wearing a mocap suit and using that for your character animation?
Yeah. Let's see. Well, first, when's the line when something is?
Where do you draw the line?
Is stealing? When you get caught. No.
Great answer.
I've tried a lot harder to be. Because I use a bunch of like textures.com, and there's always times where you're like, I just need that one little decal, and it's like, of the million pictures of subway doors floating around on the internet, whoever took that one picture of that one decal will probably not notice if it gets on that thing. But I've been trying to be more above board with stuff. Actually, I've gotten really into taking my own. I've just got like lots of folders of just pictures I've been taking on my phone, because we have great little, especially because I like using kind of lower res pictures anyways.
Yeah.
Like, it's just fun. Like, real life is now kind of like a scavenger hunt. I'm like, ooh, I like that wall. I like that building. I took pictures. The sun was shining through the window yesterday, and it was such a dirty window. I didn't know until the sun hit it. And so I took a bunch of pictures of that just to get that nice, like, natural, grungy, splashed rain texture map. And so, yeah, I've been trying to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's
you do scanning also a lot, right? 3D scanning.
Photo scanning.
Sorry, yeah. Like,
which actually leads into the mocap situation. I have a Rococo mocap suit, which I don't know if you've seen these. It's got just little accelerometers on every joint, and they have all this processing in their software, and so it actually works really well for just like, I can just throw it on and be mocapping like at any time. Which is,
do you use that in your animations?
Yeah. And so you combine that with doing a photo scan. I kind of have it figured out so I can like photo scan my friends. And so a lot of times now, if I'm on set, I'll just grab a scan of the actor or actress, and then later, if we need to make a new shot, I can like stitch them all up and then control their body with the mocap suit, and we can just, without having to get everybody back together. It works really good for like, wide shots. If you get at all close, it's an absolute nightmare. But
that's crazy. It's good that you have to do humans, but do you try to do robots for that, or like animals or something, or? Like...
Oh yeah.
Really?
Well, I mean, that's what's fun about it, is you don't have to use the full body. And so, like, I've been animating little floating robots and stuff. And it's like, I could just use the torso and the head and just kind of be like, hey, I'm a floating robot, or I'm working. I don't think this is. I think I could say this. Yeah, working on a project where there's like just robot legs.
Yeah.
I'm going, oh, you just use the bottom half of the suit. You just animate the whole thing like in real time. I'm very excited about that. And they just released a thing that lets you stream the data live into Blender. So I can use it in Eevee with the physics and like all of that. And it's just like all these different cool tools like this are all just coming together at the same time. So I think at home virtual production, where you're just able to gather different bits from real life, like photo scanning feels like real life clip art, like, oh, I just want a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Wow. All right, next. So you should sell merchandise for your work. You could make a fortune. And then also the comment says that, oh, I can't hear you, by the way. I don't know if I... Oh, there.
I was just being quiet.
Oh, so obvious, you were... I'm not Ton.
Actually Ton. What?
Yeah.
It looks like Ton.
But why would someone call yourself with a name and then use the thumbnail if you're not... That's not... Anyway.
I think it's Ton.
it would make sense to be. It wouldn't make sense not to be done. But anyway, next question. So ZG Matter asks, Pablo and Ian, I hope you're doing spectacularly well, Blender, today. I'm sure it's one question per person, but it's two. It's okay. Let's try to squeeze in as many as possible. So first one is to Ian. Great tutorial on tracking. You explain it in a brilliant way. You do. If you haven't seen it, check out. It's the last video that you put out on your YouTube channel.
This is CG Matter.
Yes.
Yes.
And
he was the person I was most nervous about putting out a tracking tutorial, because he knows
everything.
Everything.
Yeah, it can be scary to make tutorials.
The tracking tutorial, actually, so I was really excited to I made the Dynamo Dream teaser, the full 2-minute one-shot Eevee thing, with the thought of that kind of being a showcase for like what you could do at home with the green screen. And so I kind of let myself go a little bit overboard on that, just because I knew that I wanted it to be like, this is a thing you could do with like free software and like a chunk of green screen. And then I wanted to make all the tutorials kind of showing the technical process of how to do that. And so I wanted to start with motion tracking, because motion tracking is just the door to so much cool stuff. And now I'm working on the green screen one, which is also, I don't know how to kind of separate it, but motion tracking isn't something. Most of the stuff is like modeling. That's stuff I've been doing for years, and it's all like my own ideas. I mean, nothing comes from like nowhere, but it's the motion tracking was the first time I made a tutorial. I would learn something specifically to make a tutorial for it, and that put me a lot out of my, like, I didn't want to watch other tutorials, because that feels like you're just stealing their thing to make like your own. So instead, I just worked in the motion tracker for like a week, trying every combination of stuff until I kind of figured it out. And then before I released it, I watched a bunch of other tracking tutorials, like Sebastian Koenig's Introduction to Match Track Blend, which fortunately matched what I was doing pretty darn close. But I saw CG Matter stuff, and he is like next level, doing every type of tracking I didn't even know was possible.
So he left a comment on your stuff, and he loves the tracking. Do you ever use Vosho 3DA Synthesize, or is it Blender tracking every day? So do you use other apps or for tracking, or just Blender?
I used a lot of the After Effects camera tracker, because it's actually weirdly solid. I think now I have been, Blender just gives you more control. Like, it's with After Effects, it's this black box where you click generate, camera track, and it gives you like one checkbox of try harder or like something like that. Use analysis, use intense analysis or something like that. Yeah. But if it doesn't work, you can't do anything about that. And with Blender, it gives you every single tracking point with their values, and you can filter it and you can clean it. And if you want to like reconstruct a mesh, you can just click and add. It's so much more control.
So
and I've been loving that.
You go back and forth between After Effects, Blender, or just do it at the end?
Since doing the tutorial, I'm a lot more in love with the Blender tracker, and so I haven't gone back to After Effects since then. Oh, cool. I did another shot that's like the Dynamo Dream, like the oneer thing, and I tried doing that just full Blender. And so I tried the method I talk about. Basically, the method I talk about in the tutorial is blast it with auto-generated tracking points, which thank you, Sean Kennedy, for showing me that exists, because that's a game changer. And I just get 1,000,000 points, track through it, and then just delete everything that's kind of an outlier. And you do this kind of like refining process, because like it finds a lot of points and tracks them really well that I would not think would be trackable. I'm always like, oh yes, you need an eyeball or like a little crosshair or a solid corner or something, and it's actually very forgiving. And so I like giving it that opportunity to find all these tracking points that I wouldn't think would work, I guess.
Wow. Well, for those who don't know, Sean Kennedy, he runs openvisualeffects.com with a lot of tutorials and training on video tracking, the motion tracker. And then secondly, Pablo, you're the master chef making live stream gourmet. Thank you. I was wondering if you ever get nervous recording or have to do multiple takes. Is that, I don't know for which one, but I always get nervous recording, and when I have to make videos, like for live streams, I don't know, for some reason it just works. But when I have to record myself making a video, I take an hour to make an 8-minute video. Suck. How about you? Tell us recording for you. Is it usually just goes in one?
Oh, I thought you were talking to him. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. No, I get nervous for sure. Yeah.
It happens. Sorry.
What was crazy about seeing the talk from last year was just how often I say That was not a thing I knew I don't think I do in real life. I think if I feel like I'm turning it up, like I'm like, oh, you have to keep the information going. You can't stop, because I know I was trying to cram like a 40-minute talk into like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Then I say just to keep that vocal momentum going. But yeah, as soon as you and I shouldn't even be saying it right now, because as soon as you know to listen for it, you can't unhear it, and it's just it's like, wow, I'd say that a lot.
Wow. Yeah, I have many of those that I've been trying to be more like try to remove, but it just makes life much harder. Huh?
Can you like get rid of vocal tics like that?
You can, yeah, but you have to think ahead what you're saying. Sometimes, I don't know, I noticed that with practice, the more I do, like I'm doing a live stream every day for many weeks, and before like 200 live streams. So I noticed that at some point I can just keep talking and then think of the whatever I'm gonna say afterwards. So I can like crop the hums and or at least make a pause and continue without the in the middle. I don't know how it works. It's just weird. Next question. Hola Pablo and Ian with a little love icon emoji. Ian, how do you deal with smoke and steamy scenes?
Steamy scenes?
Yeah.
So we just filmed a bunch of steam elements out behind the church recently. Like I usually do just because for weirdly, there's all of these cool smoke sim tools, but a lot of times you can still, especially when it's getting going, you get that kind of like mushroom effect type thing. And even when it's going fully, I don't know, if it's steam elements are one of those great times where you can put something actual, like real and textural back into your scene. And so, yeah, I've been shooting a lot of my own
so you just render as plates and then you put them in Blender.
Yeah, and making them little looped deals, and you can just stick them on a plane and have it control the mix factor between a transparent and either an emission or a translucent if you're feeling a little fancy. And so yeah, you can just have 100 of those, and
it's gonna be much faster and less of a nightmare. But yeah, sometimes you do need the volume information though, like for if the character's walking through, and yeah. Favorite add-ons. Do you use add-ons?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Favorite? Do you have to think of your head?
The was it the Amaranth? Obviously.
Amaranth.
Wait, what was that called?
Oh, Amaranth. Yeah. It's an add-on that I made sometime ago.
Yeah.
Jesus. You.
Let's see. I have trouble sometimes remembering even what are originally add-ons, because a lot of them are included in Blender now. And so it's almost like I never totally understood that actually. Like it's just kind of like it lets you decide whether you want it included or Blender, but it comes with Blender.
Yes, basically there are many things in Blender that would make it look clutter maybe. So they don't always are enabled by default. Some of them are very small, like the export UV layout where it exports the image. That one used to be an add-on. And it's like, why? It's just one button somewhere. But some of the add-ons, they are all over the place, like Amaranth or like add extra objects. It's great, but how often do you need to add this very specific screwdriver? I don't know, shape.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why some of them are disabled, and also for testing. So which one do you think it should be enabled by default?
Copy attributes menu.
Yes, please.
Yes.
What kind of high industry standard software without a Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V for settings? Yes.
Images, import images as planes. I love that one. The UV squares add-on is always very good. I've got a whole list of them here. Yeah. Oh, Node Wrangler for sure.
Some parts of the Node Wrangler. It had some menus on the side that are like there are maybe a bit too many buttons, but Node Wrangler, like the shortcuts, Control T, Control everything, Control click.
Oh, I love all the hotkeys. Anything gives more hotkeys. It's fun, but it also makes it hard to teach people Blender sometimes because it's like at any given moment you're watching them do a thing, and it's like, do you want to know the 6 other ways you could be doing this with varying levels of efficiency? There's like one button that will do, actually it's more a combination of like 6 buttons that will do exactly the entire task you're trying to do right now, but it requires you getting a little overwhelmed for a second. Yeah. But once you learn it, it's like you've learned like a spell just to like summon this wacky maneuver, and I love being able to do that.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Next, so choose one between Eevee Motion Blur or Shadow Catcher. These are 2 features that are lacking currently in Blender for Eevee, Motion Blur and Shadow Catcher. Pick one.
Motion Blur. Do you know anything about that?
Yes and no. Yes, that I know that it's not as easy to do, but there are some work in progress. There's a patch already work in progress that
really?
Yeah. But it's work in progress, and it's just basically
it's what?
Work in progress. It's being it's under development, so it needs testing. So it's not going to happen for sure for 2.83, but for 2.9, I really hope maybe we can push for that. So yes, next question. How you doing, by the way? You like this ping pong questions?
Yeah, it's fun.
You're still not falling asleep?
No, I'm doing so good.
Good, awesome. Right, so hello, Ian and Pablo. Thank you for the time. If I may ask, as someone who already played a part in the industry, how do you composite your scene? Do you use Nuke, Fusion, or is just Blender?
Usually After Effects. Although I've been having a lot of fun trying to composite stuff in like right in the viewport lately. Just as much as you can stick in like natural 3D space, because again, it's that was the whole thing. Is like usually jumping over to After Effects, you can click and drag stuff around, but if you have it in the viewport with Eevee, you can do that anyways. And so I've been like, what's that?
No, continue. Sorry.
Oh, so like taking footage. I've been getting into mixing using an add shader to mix a transparent and an emission shader, and that's basically a screen or additive blend mode on just whatever you import in there. And so you can just start doing composites you'd be doing in like a regular compositor just right there. And so that's been cool. My goal, I've been using Adobe After Effects for 20 years or something like that, but it's also like $60 a month, and it's getting to the point where I don't go into it all that much. I've got like a couple little filters I use, and it's nice for integrating with, if somebody sends you a big timeline of video, you've got to be able to take it. But yeah, slowly working over that way. It'd be fun. I should learn Nuke or Fusion probably, but yeah, basically just After Effects and Blender these days.
Yes, only that. Let's again. Okay, next question is: can you please make a Blender lazy character tutorial where you texture and model a character? It would be interesting to see with your design style. Also,
I hope you don't get the corona. Me too. Thank
Everybody.
you, Peter. You should make more. Sorry, you should make more of a character tutorial. I feel like your characters like 13 years ago were like the look of Blender. Like that was what.
Thank you. I guess maybe a lot of people don't know. Some people think I'm a developer. Some people think I think maybe I should show a bit more at some point, or maybe do a live stream with myself with a mirror and then interview myself. Hey Pablo, how are you? Or do you always make YouTube tutorials? But no, I used to make tutorials. I often do as well. But I made the one that Ian is talking about is a video tutorial that I did in 2009. So wow, 11 years ago. Okay,
and just like the visual style, like I think. You were one of the early blenders that the carrot, right?
Yes.
That was the splash screen for which
For
Blender?
It was for Blender 2.36, and
Okay.
yeah, I'm kind of showing it now. It's just funny to see. Anyway, so okay, sidetracking. I'm not supposed to be showing this, but this it is fun. It's fun history of Blender stuff. So the question was, yeah, character tutorial. Maybe it's too ambitious and hard to how like make a full tutorial, like the process.
Oh yeah, I was changing the topic because I don't know how to.
We can switch topic then. Okay, next question.
Oh no, not actually. I'm really bad at organic type stuff. That's why I do all the green screening and photo scanning and everything. Just because that's a whole understanding anatomy and just the way. Because look, with a robot, it's just you have an arm chunk and an arm chunk, but with a human flesh or an animal flesh object, this shape right here is just a different shape now when the arm goes down. And if you want to do anything that doesn't look like a nightmare, you have to actually get pretty close. And it's that weird uncanny valley thing where you can be like a master and be so good, and you just nail one, or you just miss one tiny thing, and everybody's like, wow, well that looks horrible. And it's like, yeah, it does, but also this is more technical skill than most of you would ever have in your entire lives. It's saying this hypothetical character animator. And that's why, I mean, anytime I see CG humans in movies, I'm just like, that's amazing. I am terrified of that. And I can't rig. I've just been using Rigify.
No, Rigify, just don't even.
Thank goodness for Rigify.
Rigging is like, I don't know, it's like animation. You can just try animation. You had to work for like 10 years in it to be like. So yeah,
like the photo scans, Rigify it, and then use the mocap suit and dance around, and that's great. Did Nathan Vectel made the original Rigify?
Very first version, yeah.
Because he was tired of rigging pinkies after Big Buck Bunny, I think.
He made the human rigging DVD as well.
Yes, wow. But has it expanded beyond him? Do you remember? Like,
yeah, Rigify, yeah, absolutely. Rigify now is a full module inside Blender that it has like it got a life on its own. It has modules like to expand and to make your own modules. Like if you make a lot of dragons, you can make your own dragon module and then have it as part of Rigify. You can extend your own Rigify. It's amazing.
Oh, cool.
Super nice. Super Rigify. It's amazing. So, right, next question is a love letter to you, Ian.
Ooh.
So, Ian, you always hit the G-spot of my eyes with every creation you make. You inspire me to sit down and constantly create ambitious projects without a single crybaby excuse. I often repeat to myself, I am Ian, when I feel overwhelmed by my own projects. Thank you for being my creative support in my subconscious mind. My wallet will bloom like a flower when Dynamo Dream releases, because damn, I freaking love large metal robots. That's
very nice.
Yes. Question. When creating complex designs for objects in the scene on Dynamo Dream, how much pre-planning does it take for each scene? Lore Bibles, or is just everything just your imagination going wild?
That was made up on the fly for sure. Like we were, I think I've said this elsewhere, but like I was actually pretty buzzed the whole time we were doing that. Like we were in the kitchen and I was like trying to explain it to Caitlin, and then I was like, let's just go do it. There's be an elevator, which means you can keep walking on the same bit of green screen. We'll feel like it's different bits of green screen. It'll be great. It'll be like, let's go do it. And so we did it, which is why the camera movement is, no, I wasn't like stumbling drunk, but I was just like, I was in that zone, you know. And Sean, I was like, hey Sean, can you stand on this sawhorse, and like you'll be the vendor guy who's like selling the thing, and I think it'll work. And so we only did, I think we did 3 takes, and I think I used the second take. But what's cool about green screen is like if anything were to go wrong, like if she walked a route I didn't expect, or if she trips on a thing, or if a random light casts on her unexpectedly, yeah, you just can justify that in the world you're building. It's like, oh, she has to walk that way because there's an object, you know, in the way. And the little random bits, the little accidents that happen are actually what help you add the realism, because then you have to kind of explain them. And so yeah, it all kind of works together like that. And so
any light change, any like I don't know if it trips on something or everything really adds to
there's we use all the lights we were using the green screen as actual practical lights in the scene also. And so she gets in this elevator and she's standing right under this light, and that's actually the light that was lighting up the whole front area of the green screen. And so that was kind of fun because we didn't have enough lights to light her separate. So yeah, we did some stuff. But
all right, so next question. Thank you. What are the features you like the most in Blender? How or where did you get all the crazy ideas in your tutorials?
The features I like most.
You like
in
the
Blender?
most, yeah. Like name 3 features or one.
The modeling, the animation, and the rendering. No, I don't know. Really enjoying Eevee. I feel like Eevee's just kind of changed the way that like my brain thinks about working in CG, like fundamentally.
So rendering speed.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how specific they're looking. I think they're thinking about like specific features,
one feature,
not like
yeah.
concepts. I love extruding.
Extruding.
Extruding is really good.
I also love extruding. Who doesn't love okay, so maybe top one feature.
Teaching someone Blender for the first time, it's like just wait until we get to extruding. Your whole world's about to change. You just pop it out.
There is a before and after in everybody's life once after they extrude. I gotta say that.
You extruding?
Yes. Now, okay, so will you ever do a fast tutorial on how to make fast tutorials?
I thought about that, but there's a thing where if I think about something, if I think of a thing too quickly, then I don't like it. Where I was like, I got stuck on. I felt this is where the tiredness comes. You know, like the language being like a little black box. Because you have an idea you want to say, and normally language is like, oh, here's the words to express that thought. You don't have to hand assemble the words. But if you get a little bit tired, then suddenly you have to start piecing the words together by hand.
Yeah, and it's your native language. Imagine when you...
I am so impressed. Oh yeah, I was talking about weird meta creative idea things. Yeah, so sometimes if an idea occurs to me too quickly, like I go, oh, I should make a tutorial. What should it be about? Making tutorials. I'm like putting that one back in the drawer.
Yeah.
We did so many like 48-hour films about making 48-hour films.
That's brilliant. The next question actually is related to that. It's like, where do you get related to Dynamo? Where do you get your ideas from? Do you write also? You write your episodes. Do they like what you write them like time way before with the whole idea in mind, or while you're shooting it some kind of comes together? Or
yeah, well, I love this current workflow where I just stew on everything for 2 years. Like I've been working on this 15-minute episode for like 2 years now. We've made a lot of other stuff in that time too, but that means it's not like sit down, write a thing. That means it's more like write a thing, walk around, see a movie. You're like, ooh, I'm excited about heists now. Got to put a heist in there, and then you're walking around, you see something else, you go, oh, and so it's just kind of this collective idea of all the different things that have been exciting to me over the past like year and a half, and I'm kind of okay with that being a little bit obvious sometimes. But yeah, I do write stuff, but again, I'm not a particularly good writer, but I am good at knowing when I don't like something, like if something feels a little bad to me, and so I can just keep nixing stuff and give myself plenty of time to try to come up with something that I don't dislike.
Yeah.
And so that's usually kind of the method.
Nice. And so the next question is, thanks for your work, is really inspiring. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on how to take a recorded video of an actor's movement and use motion tracking to drive a skeletal rig. So like you take a video, you track it of someone walking, and then you kind of drive the... Have you ever tried that?
Yeah. So I want to do a thing just because the Blender tracker is so fun. Like if you put little tracking markers on your joints, you'd have to kind of like be like a paper cutout puppet.
Yeah.
We could easily do this and then just IK that onto a rig. It would look not good. Like it could look like you're a little puppet or something. But if you're trying to like do a movie or something, it's like, and here's the people sliding around. But it'd be a fun effect.
That is...
I know there are, let's see, movement and use motion tracking on a...
Like,
there are all those tools, like, do you remember the Kinect back?
Yeah.
Like, I thought that technology was going to keep going, like, woo, but it kind of fizzled. Well, I think they stopped working on it.
I think now it's also a niche. Some people are buying these very old Kinects and then still doing stuff with it. But I think I don't know, maybe with the new consoles, they're going to put out a better one, maybe. I don't know. It's really scanning. Like even the latest iPad has a sensor only for AR stuff, so I think it can move forward. But yeah, would be interesting. I am thinking now, like Kermit the Frog. Wouldn't that be a good, because he's held by, that could work if you have like positions and you drive it. I don't know. Next question. This one is by Luciano. Says, my question for Ian: how can you be so awesome? Next, that's
very nice.
I don't know how, but my question, and then a question for me: when to do Caminandes 4 soon?
Yes.
What do we need to do? You just make noise. These things happen by making noise, basically. But now the studio is busy. For making short films, you need a lot of people, or you need to be Ian, be able to do everything. Next,
is that what? So let's see. There's a Hjelte's movie coming, wrapping up pretty quick.
Yeah, Coffee Run.
What's coming up next over there?
I don't know. Corona. The idea was to, I don't know, continue with that or develop also part of the Asian 327. Continue with that. Yeah. Because the idea was also to do Cosmos too, but there will be an announcement soon. That's not going to happen anytime soon, so there will be an announcement made regarding that. Next question. So Sneeve asks, hey Ian, heart emoji, could you give us a basic overview of how do you do color management from shoot to composite?
Ooh.
Do you do any color management yourself? Do you just use the defaults, filmic all the way, log?
You've gotta. I feel like there's very few people who understand all the color management. I remember when Sergey was trying to get that all figured out for because he was trying to work with the footage. He was trying to work with the Sony footage, I think.
Yeah.
And I think he was doing deeper stuff too, just like rethinking the way Blender was working with color space. Yeah, because there's when you shoot footage, you have like the color space you're shooting to, and then you have and if I'm like importing it into Premiere or like After Effects has like a built-in color space. The monitor has a color space. There's
the app has a color
table
display.
Yeah, your codecs have everything has color spaces, and so I try to keep everything pretty good. As you point out, Filmic, if I import like footage as an element in a scene, Filmic is going to translate what that looks like. And so if I'm trying to recomposite that back into footage, none of those values are going to be the same. If I want to do it right, do I have to work in linear encoding all the way to the end, or do manual color grading? Or is there a decent way to wing it if I just want to keep the look of the footage I grabbed it from YouTube? If you can wing it, I think that's probably that's a good idea.
That's what we've been doing for all the open movie projects lately. Basically, it just needs to look good on and everywhere. Just try it on your phone, try it on a crappy monitor, on a good monitor, and everywhere. And then we go watch it at a place with a great screen, and then it just needs too much. But yeah, for live action,
you need the guy. You need the color space guy who can come just sit down with you for like a day and be like, here's everything that nobody else can tell you. I've studied this my entire life.
It's like audio is like I don't know, so many things. All right, next question. Otherwise, because color, I think we can dedicate a whole episode to color management. So Ian, does Ian use Python scripting in Blender, and what are your thoughts on it? Do you use Python?
Ian does not, but he wishes he could, because it's so powerful. It's so cool. And occasionally I run into problems where I go, oh man, I have to select all of these things and do the same operation, and this is exactly where, or even more like complicated stuff like that, which just, yeah, I've got nothing. I tried this last year. I found you could get the Python backend readout. What's that? It's like the log. Every time you do anything, it shows you what you've done. And yeah. So I was like, oh, I just copy this into the text editor. I can make my own scripts in like 2 seconds. And I was excitedly saying this to my friend Charlie, and he said no, because like mesh, like when you're applying a material, you're applying it to both the mesh and like the object, and those are different places depending on like where things are at, and the active mesh is different than like, I don't know, apparently just all the different ways data is stored. And he goes, you have to actually understand how Blender works.
No, but you understand how Blender works. It should, I mean, yeah, it makes it sound much more complicated than it is really. Like you've been using Blender. When you shift D a thing, it's a new object and a new mesh. When you Alt D, is a new object and the same mesh. That's why he said that the mesh can be in multiple places. But that's the whole gist of it. Recommendation: in this YouTube channel, there are tutorials being put out every few days by Cbren. So it's an actual developer teaching Python scripting for artists. That's
really,
yeah, that's a series, scripting for artists. And actually, the last video, I think it was from Saturday or so, or Friday. It explains how to make your first operator, which is an action operator.
So gonna watch that.
You should check it out. And he explained it super nice and with a deep voice and very clear and super nice. Next,
we should do that.
We should do that too.
Yeah.
Okay, serious. So the next question, next comment says, Ian, I love you and your videos so much. All caps. You inspire me to pursue VFX and Blender, and I can't thank you enough. Question: what are your future plans for the Dynamo series? Where do you hope to taking it?
Oh, that's very nice. Well, so I have of the new series, the Dynamo Dream thing, we have like 45 minutes done of that.
Oh.
And yeah, I'm actually, or more actually. I think it's closer to an hour. I keep extending the first episode and just kind of like shoving more stuff in there. We filmed it backwards, which I think maybe we talked about at the last Blender conference, but it was like you can have a scene and then you can shoot a scene that takes place right before that like recontextualizes that scene, which makes that scene better.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of did that for like 45 minutes worth of stuff. So once you get to the end of the 45 minutes that we've shot, that's when it actually wants to get to the stuff I was meaning to shoot. But I'd love to do that full time and actually release stuff on a regular schedule so much. And like as of the past couple months, I started the Patreon thing recently, and that's changing stuff for me. It's been really exciting because usually I have to spend a third of my life working on work, and then a third of my life working on like passion stuff, and then the other third of my life being like a social human being with like love and seeing the outdoors and eating and like all of that sort of stuff. And there's never enough hours in a day for that. But
never.
But yeah, the Patreon's really helping kind of make it so that I can just focus on making the tutorials and working on personal stuff. And so that's, for the first time, I'm kind of feeling like, hey, maybe I can have a little personal equilibrium. And so I'm really, really hoping that lets me, for the first time ever, release stuff a bit faster.
More often. This is really like, I don't know, feel it's like building a community around the things that you like and you love, and you do really, really well. So I really hope this you get to the point where you can say, hey, it's actually people like supporting this project that I'm working on and the way I explain things and I don't know, everything, because you also release assets and tutorials and making of behind the scenes. So I think it really shows that you like, and you're happy that people support you for that. At some point on Twitter you said, I'm sorry for posting too much about Patreon, but I think you shouldn't be sorry, because it's really your stuff and you do it like amazing. So it's really a lot of value that you add to the community, and it's so inspiring. So it's really,
thanks, man.
Keep it up. next question. So hello guys. At the beginning, I must thank you for your work. You're the best. I have questions about dynamics in Blender. Oh, let's see. And do you know something about the ability to, or adding the possibility for Blender to turn off or on rigid bodies via some sort of fall off? Turn on or off rigid bodies? No, besides baking, I'm not sure.
Yeah, fall off. So only affects. I feel like this is for like a specific instance. Did you hear? Because you could just select everything within a certain radius and only apply the rigid bodies. Make them rigid bodies. Did you hear something about fracture modifier development? And will there be a possibility to spawn rigid bodies without animation nodes? I don't know much about this.
The thing is that physics are going to change the way, like we're going to change the way, like we as users are gonna have a new way of interact with physics with everything nodes project. So everything's gonna be nodes, and there will be presets, and the particle system will use it, and in the future everything should use nodes. So it's hard to point when, but the possibility, yes, I think so. Yes, let's believe in it. Next question. So it says 3D Illusions. Hello Ian and Pablo and everybody watching. I really like the format with One Day with Mitch, where you show like the other day I made a video where actually somebody is doing something on the screen and just ask questions, which is also very nice. But I think we could do that some other time. I like this chatting, interaction. So with that in mind, any chance of you spending 5 minutes creating some cool visual effects from a film you know how to create in Blender, while Pablo scans the YouTube comments for clarification? This, not for today, but do you feel like one day, on maybe later, we don't have to do it at 8 a.m. in the morning? But maybe in the future, if you're up for it, could be cool.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Like you do something. I usually get stage scare when I have to do things and people are watching and like, oh.
Yeah, I misclick a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta go fast.
Oh yeah, and especially when people like see you as the 1 minute guy, it's like, oh, everything should be fast, and
should pre-record it and be like, yes, I'll do it right now, and play it like 5
add
times speed.
some background like clickety clackety. All right, so next question says, when modeling from image reference, projecting some stuff from view and etc., I very often come to a state where I've recreated as much 3D geometry as possible and even added a few other elements from other photos, but the thing still looks low detail, especially under bright lighting. Do you know any dirty tricks on how to add detail without much hassle?
I think so. So a lot of times when you model a thing from a photo and then you start rotating around, you'll get a specular highlight moving across it, and that just really shows you exactly how many faces there are. And so if you can interrupt that specular highlight, if you can map any sort of image into the roughness input, if you're using like the principled shader, and just change that up a little bit, that's going to help a lot. I've started throwing like a Musgrave texture into the normal map with a bump converter, plug it into the height there, and you just can add a subtle warble to a bunch of stuff. I've got a laser tutorial I should finish up that's just about that.
Just a marvel.
Anything, if it's papers or cans or windows or anything that should be flat but maybe isn't perfectly flat, you plug one of those in there and it has this little thing to it. But yeah, playing with roughness maps and maybe a tiny little bit of normal mapping can help.
Yes,
a lot.
Marble in the height of a bump map into a normal map. Bam.
Yeah.
Done. Okay. So I think we're we are on time already. It's 6 o'clock here p.m. I don't know how tired you are. If you are.
I'm in the zone. I'm good.
You're in the zone? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Go do
I don't know how long these things normally are. Like an hour.
It's 1 hour. Sometimes it goes a bit a bit more. So I think we should be around time. But let's do 5 more questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's do 10 more questions people are asking. Okay, let's try 5, and we'll see how are these 5s. Okay, first question. Any trick when you don't have a green screen, but green screen is what you need?
Oh. You can use the sky. You can use a blue sky.
It's there.
Yeah. Spray paint. If you can get spray paint and a piece of wood. If you have any sort of crafting or fabric stores around, they'll usually have discount fabrics. And if you can it's just a couple, few dollars. If you can save it up, you can get a chunk of green screen, usually that's big enough to go behind a person, and then at least you can, key one person. And even if you're doing like motion tracking and stuff, as long as the person stays on the green screen, then you're gold. You can just trace out around them, and everything else doesn't matter. So you can do a lot with a tiny little bit. But yeah, if you don't have that, you can use a blue sky and just always film looking up.
Yeah. Lighting will be a bit tricky there, but yes.
Or a Lumamat. You can extract a Lumamat. If the background's straight white, you can just key out. It usually doesn't work well, but you can do it. Yeah.
You can do it. But the spray paint on wood is a great idea, actually, and the getting some secondhand, some greeneries fabrics. Next question is, how was the robot hand of Celia, the actress on Tears of Steel, composite?
That was so wild. That was a bunch of people. So Sebastian was motion tracking the hand and Kier, and the crazy part about that was I think that it had all of these balls on it for triangulating the rotation, and all of those balls were sticking out, occluding their shirts, and so all of that, they had to be repainted back in, and the background had to paint in what that was occluding. And so that was one of the hard parts, and it was 8 years ago, so I forget who did most of that. I think, was it Sebastian, or was it? I don't remember.
Sebastian, I think there are tutorials on Blender Cloud about keying and masking, and then there is some tracking tools and tutorials of all kinds of stuff. We have actually, this is we have a list of photos from the shooting. Let's see if I can find it now. We have a bunch of photos from the shooting of the Tears of Steel, where you can see some. I think they are on the Blender Cloud. I think there must be. So you can see some of the details. Also, clean plate creation is a tutorial that is still valid. I think that was made by here's some more pictures. Of that.
Yeah, a lot of those tools haven't changed too much in the past.
Not really, no.
I'm submitting my first bug. I had to Google yesterday, and I found the video from you explaining how to do it. Because normally I just assume it's my fault, but I think this is a genuine little bug. So I'm finally doing it. Yeah.
Seriously, thank you. That's nice. So people that don't know, there is in this video. But I think if you should Google like how to report Blender bug, you're gonna get it anyway. The first video, how to report a bug. So thank you for checking that out. Next question. So this will be number 4. How do you come up with the environment idea? Like, how do you decide how it looks? Nothing I make looks good to me. Oh. How do you come up with the environment idea? How do you inspirations?
There's a bunch of ways. Yeah. A lot of times I like to start with places that I would actually want to go. Like, that's kind of I always think whenever I'm making something, I like there to be that core idea that kind of gets me excited about it. And so that's usually that, or a place that I've been that I kind of wanted to go back to, or that's just like kind of stewing in my head. And you can supplement that with anything. Like, you can look at, like National Geographic pictures or random pictures on, like ArtStation, or go to a museum, and you just start combining all these different things and into your little brain meat, and then hopefully you can make something kind of cool. But let's see, if nothing you make looks good to you, is it because you're not liking the concepts that you're making, or you're not liking the way it translates into CG. I found out, did I said this once, and it would be very embarrassing if it was you that I said it to during our talk at the Blender conference, because what would be the odds? But it was when I'm dreaming, I'm usually going through these crazy places, and I'm like, oh, this is such a cool area, and I wake up and I'm like, I want to make that. But the difficulty is that in the dream, I had this sense of like environmental proprioception. Like I had that, when you're sitting, like what's around you in real life.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what's outside of the video square, but you have a sense of like you could fall backwards onto that couch, where your kitchen is, and it all just kind of exists in a mental map in your head.
Yes.
And a lot of times that controls so much the feeling of a space, which honestly is the reason I liked the Dynamo Dream teaser so much. Is because it starts in one zone, and then she goes to a different zone. Then she takes the elevator back past that first area, which meant it actually let people make a little bit of a mental map of that area in a way that, like, just shooting a bunch of shots, I've never really been able to do that before. And the same with like at the beginning, if you watch it, the sun sets over the course of like 45 seconds. It's the very last little bit of sun, and that's just like 2 keyframes. But being able to explore a little bit of like time and space with that was like, I'd never done anything like that, and it was weirdly fun. It felt very different than the normal way I think about filmmaking, and it was kind of addicting. I liked having posters for the taco burgers on like the second floor, and you don't find out what those are until she goes down, and like being able to hear the sound team did so good, just also making it feel like there's stuff happening on different levels.
Just to add to his like this whole story, and I think weather, it also adds a lot. Like you were saying, like the sun's going down. That's like awesome.
Weather and time of day, and it's like everything, and everybody has different connotations with all of that too, of like memories. What I always want, there's a time when you walk outside and it's like slightly warmer than you expect, or like those changing of seasons, or you get that smell of like plant matter that you haven't smelled in a couple months or something like that, and it triggers all this stuff in your brain. And I always wish we could like capture that somehow in movies or games or something like that. But I feel like so much of that's it's an extra sensory, it's sensations on your skin or smell or taste or something. And so it's like you can come kind of close with film, but you can't really replicate being a human in the wild. Yeah.
We're lacking that area. We're like, visuals are great, sound is great, but we're lacking in that sense, literal sense of smell, of like making you feel like you're somewhere, like fresh. I don't know, not like rain, but like smell of rain, or the smell of just fresh cut grass.
You could rig up an Arduino to like just squeeze some Febreze out, like when the character first walks outside. It's like, springtime freshness.
Wow, great. Okay, next question says, this is the very first one that was asked. So my short question is, how do you deal with motivational block? What advice would you give to someone not knowing 100% what they want to do in Blender? Motivational block. Do you ever have those? How do you cope with them?
I feel like an ass, but not usually. Usually it's like I've got a bunch of stuff I'm really excited about, and I don't know how to. I think especially if you're trying to learn Blender, though, like Blender can be intimidating enough, because like a lot of times, especially if you're doing something new, you have to Google, like if you're trying to do something specific, like I need the computer to do this one specific thing.
Yeah.
If you don't already know the tools, you're going to be doing probably a lot of Googling. And again, that can be exciting, because like I remember the moment I realized in Blender, looking at all of those buttons and not having it be like a crazy like minefield or like a hazardous landscape. It's more like those are all like things you can do. These are all tools that like people think you might want, and they're arranged, and it's just this very dense, powerful tool. And so it's actually, that changed the way I thought about buttons, where now I'm like, every time I see a button I haven't noticed before, I'm like, wait a second, what does that do? What would that let me do? But you need to have some sort of, I think, core of excitement to help you get through that. And so, because if you don't have that, if it's all it is like Googling how to do stuff, you can kind of become a little bit frustrated, I think, pretty quick. So I think, yeah, definitely. I can't find the question that you were.
You need to be curious. No, the question is a motivational block, and when you don't know what to do, when you don't not knowing 100% what they want to do in Blender, when you want to do in Blender. I think that it happens to everything, and this is exactly what you were talking about. I think not only you need a bit of excitement and curiosity to like dive into these buttons that you don't know what they do, but also it serves if you have a purpose. If you have like, okay, my final goal is to make this thing or that thing, or like get inspiration, or even, I don't know, fan art is even sometimes a good
thing. I think a lot of people too, like when I learned how to play piano, we started with the scales and all of the different things, and I think there's kind of a paying your dues type mentality. And so when people are trying to learn Blender, I think some people are like, all right, well, now first I have to go through the step of of learning Blender. But you can try to just start aiming way too high and just like, all right, how do we make like an Iron Man face eater thing? And that type of like overambitious project might take like a bit more Googling, but it could also be like exciting, like in a way that would help keep you going. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. Next question. It's my birthday today. Thank you, Pablo and Ian Hubert, for this stream today. Ian's so generous person to reply and suggesting anything on Instagram. So lots of love. Happy birthday, Final Flasher.
Happy birthday.
Next question. I've been watching your tutorials for quite a while now, and I have a question for you. Who or what introduced you to 3D modeling animation, and what has motivated you to use Blender as your main 3D software?
So my first 3D software is software you can't even find on the internet. It was called Corel Motion 3D, and if you Google that, you'll find like Corel Motion 3D Pro, which is like the version that came after that. But this was like, I think it was just one person like made this software probably. He was like, hey, I think I can make like a 3D thing. It let you do a lathe, that let you like make shapes and kind of extrude them and do parent stuff and like basic keyframes. And so that was what got me into that. And then Bryce 3D, because Bryce was great. Booleans, amazing. And then there was a neighbor kid who showed me Blender actually, which is great because I wanted to do the spider from Wild Wild West because that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Yeah. He's like, well, but like if you try to rig, in forward kinematics. Yeah, forward kinematics. It's impossible to do a spider because you have to animate the body and then animate every other joint to keep the legs stationary. And Andy Rhodes, who lived down the street, was like, no, you can do this with IK. This is great. And then I don't remember if he showed me Colin Levy's Neighborhood Mayhem with the robot that lands in the street. Yeah. Colin was using SynthEyes, I think, and making tutorials and stuff back in the day. Then, yeah. And I was like, I need to do that. And so that was my personal, and the first thing I made was a big robot spider and figured out how to light it and put it into a movie that probably I've taken off of YouTube by now, for the betterment of mankind.
So that's how you started. That's great. So that was why Blender. And actually, this question is not there. But what do you do? What do you learn first? Music or CG filming and computer graphics and stuff?
Take music?
Yeah. What did you learn first? Like was music always in your life? Or?
My mom taught piano when I was a kid, so she tried to teach me piano. My dad can play a bunch of different instruments, so there was like an introduction to music, but it wasn't until I was doing like lots of long renders back in 2009, 2010, and I would just have a guitar in my lap, and I would just be like just doodling around with it. And it turns out that process was enough to kind of subconsciously just start wiring the brain so like, oh, finger movements can translate into sounds. And so just the longer I did that over the course of like years and years, I just kind of started knowing what different things would kind of sound like. Like I learned chords and stuff too, but like Yeah, I think I didn't really learn music until I'd already been doing a bunch of different filmmaking stuff. Yeah.
You were basically just waiting for renders and
Yeah.
yeah. Wow. Well, not anymore with Eevee. That's a pity.
I know. My music has gone downhill.
All right. Last question. So we can, because we already over time. I don't know. I'm really tired. So the last question is like, was wondering if you have any advice for those starting out with VFX and filming in general. Like people just starting with you.
Ooh.
Advice.
Just do it. Just go nuts. That's so open.
I guess like it's different because when you started doing VFX, it's completely different from now with all the tools that you have so it's hard to give advice also in that sense.
Yeah, well, if it's too open, then it just sounds like kind of a vague platitude. Like believe in yourself. The first 3 things you make will probably be horrible. That's just how you do it. Which is all very true, unless if you are just weirdly good. So try to be weirdly good. But if you're not, know that that's okay. Oh, jeez.
Try to be really good. And the last, it's actually part of the same comment, but the last one, it's I've been a fan of Dynamo for a while, and it always amazed me how you were able to translate your creative vision per se so well. There's something super special about it. Could you describe how you approached the project initially?
Oh, that's so nice. Honestly, I've been amazed by all the Dynamo references in this. It was like I released 1 episode in the past like 6 years or something, and yeah, that's great. Yeah. So wait. Oh, okay. Sorry. It's a sleep brain attacking. There we go. Oh, translated. Yeah. Okay. So this was maximum. I first started working on developing like the world when I was 18. And so I was kind of just ham-fistedly taking anything I'd recently seen and putting it into like one world. And I was like, and there'll be this, and there'll be vampires, and there'll be big robots, and there'll be like ninjas jumping around with swords. It'll be so cool. And then just like kind of refining it over the course of like years and years. And so when we finally started shooting it, I was going on walks with my friend Scott Hampson like late at night, and we started developing like the show. And it was just this idea of, I don't know, it was very, very, very iterative, where we'd think of a thing and we'd be like, oh, that's no good. We'd write a thing, we'd brainstorm, we'd find locations, and everything was just kind of feeding into this idea, which I guess means, yeah, just doing a bunch of legwork. Wow, my brain is really fading. We're stopping this at a perfect time.
No, please.
No, I could just feel it. Like, where it's this thing where it's like
I'm shutting down,
trying to pump energy towards my mouth.
Yeah.
Like, just keep saying the words. But it's the thing I'm so excited about too. I'm like, I get to talk about Dynamo.
And it's great to see the excitement of people on Dynamo as well. How it has evolved, and how it all came up. So it's very iterative, that you said. So how long until you and with this we are over, by the way. We just, after that you can go. You should go to bed.
Okay.
So since you first imagined this, when you were 18 until you started making it, this is what it changed probably a lot. Like the overall idea, I guess, or did you just like think about it and start making?
There's almost nothing from the original like left in there. Like the original one was like, what if there were these old gods that each embodied, like a different, it's like there's chaos and order, and they have to like fight. And just over the course of having that in my head for like 4 years, there was like, I saw a million comics and bad TV shows and movies and trailers where it's like, he's the embodiment of chaos, until the point where I was like really embarrassed that like that had been my idea. And so I was able to phase kind of stuff like that out. And everybody was like, hey, have you ever read Sandman? Like, enough people have asked me that. I feel like I can't anymore. I want to now, though, because that's not the idea. And I love Neil Gaiman so much. But, yep, lost it.
All right. It's amazing. So you can find Dynamo on the YouTube channel Karma Pirates. right?
Yeah. Or if you just Google Dynamo web series.
Dynamo or Ian HUBERT or something like that. You're gonna find it. Actually, I searched for Dynamo Ian HUBERT on YouTube, and that's how it shows. That I think yes.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's Googleable.
All right. So Ian HUBERT, you can follow him on everywhere. Twitter, Mr. Dodo Bird, Patreon /Ian HUBERT, Instagram /Ian HUBERTs.
There's already an Ian HUBERT somewhere.
Yeah. And
I had to add.
But is there a Mr. Dodo Bird also in the other social media, or this one's just left over?
This was after so many years, I finally switched it over to just Ian HUBERT from Mr. Dodo Bird. So figured it was time.
It was time. And of course on YouTube you can find more of his stuff. All the links are on the description. So thank you, Ian. I know it's been
thank you.
It's so early there. But I'm so happy that we had this this moment to chat, to hang out. It really is an honor to have you here. I've been a big fan since forever, and for everywhere. Same. Like when I see the things that you do, and like everything I do is just, I don't know. I would love to see it to be like in your brain, just to how the ideas spark, or how you even come up with the things that you do. It's just I don't know if I could handle it. It goes like everything is so fast, and you put music and you make a video and you make I don't know, super awesome and very inspiring. So
thanks, man.
Very.
Well, thank you so much for having me, man.
Please.
We'll have to hang out in October.
I
don't know if I'm coming to the
conference. Yeah.
That one's still scheduled, right?
Yeah. I hope. I hope.
I don't know how far out.
October. Let's hope by October everything is under control. Otherwise, it's gonna be next year Blender conference, LA. Hopefully, you're going to that one.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you're on the West Coast, right? So that's yeah.
So it's it's still like I think 1,400 miles from me. It's like some ridiculous distance, but
there's no ocean in the way, so yes.
There's no ocean in the way.
Yeah, you can drive there. All right, thank you once again for staying and for the chat and for waking up so early. All the links are here if you want to follow Ian. If you're not already, you're missing out on amazing content, so go check it out. Go support on Patreon so we can see more of him. And
I put a lot of stuff up there. This is my plug. I've been trying to do a thing. It's been fun.
It's your day job pretty much nowadays, right? Like you have a schedule of things.
And it's kind of like if I've been throwing years into doing random work for Microsoft, it's like, hey, let me do some work for people that like are into the same stuff I'm into. Yes. So that's been really, really fun. That's
so cool. All right. Okay. Thank you, Ian. I'm going to close this chat for a moment and then say bye to the community.
All right.
So,
hey, thank you so much. I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, community. It's me back here. Thank you for staying until the end. It's been an amazing show. We learned so much about this amazing artist, musician, director, tutorialer, everything. Tomorrow we have Dalai Felinto, developer, is gonna walk us through the Blender code. So completely different from today. It's more of developer. If you're into getting into development of Blender, not the Python part, but more like the actual code itself. It's not gonna be for like super like complicated high end, but it's more like, okay, where if I want to change the interface or this editor or that thing, maybe just at least to know a little bit how Blender is built inside, how it's split, where to look for things. Prepare for that if you're into that. Tonight in a few hours I should make the event, so you should find it here in this YouTube channel. That is all for me. I just recorded the recap video of what's new in Blender, by the way. We should be up in a couple of days. I'll see you again and talk to you again tomorrow in the next video. Remember that in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright. Thanks again. See you again tomorrow, same place and time, for another Blender Today episode. Bye-bye.